a higher price for these products, because in the mire of civilization, they have lost their craft traditions. So they can import them, and they can, for instance, a lady may like to buy a beautifully woven handloom wall panel and display it in her drawing room, and when a party is held, she may like to wear a beautiful handloom gown, and probably she will be cynosure of the eyes in the whole party. Everybody will be looking at her and asking her, "Oh, it's so cute and beautiful, and the colors are so attractive. Where did you get it from?" By looking at the wall, at the panel, they may ask her. It is appealing to the eye. Is it very expensive? If she says, "I bought it for $10, they may probably not believe it, because for $10 you may not get a good cotton shirt, isn't it, in those countries? And this lasts for 30 years, 40 years, like that, whereas a cotton shirt may last only for 1 or 2 years, a cotton shirt. So it has the value addition there because of the ornamentation, artistry, and then the design, the eye-catching color, and other factors involved. Then as regards buyers and users, now government departments in India, they patronize handloom fabric. They purchase handloom fabric and use it as livery, for the attendants in government offices. They supply them free of cost, the uniform. And also for the ladies who work in hospitals as ayas, they supply them these saris. And then the hospital bed sheets. They are handloom ones in many hospitals. Then military, they supply them to military also, some woolen rugs for use in winter. And they supply to police department the uniform made on handlooms. Even gauze cloth is made by handloom. Bandage cloth is made by handloom and supplied to some hospitals. So there are so many items, which are made by hand, cloth items, supplied to government departments. For instance, the curtain cloth in government offices, they make it on handloom. Then other institutions where government has interest, like local bodies, these Panchayati Raj institutions, like the municipalities, they also patronize by buying handloom. Then there are wholesalers who buy handloom fabrics or handloom made-ups or furnishing fabrics, ready-made shirts, ready-made pants or nighties, or casual wear or beach wear, or unisex pyjamas, things like that, napkins, towels, bed sheets, and then they supply them to different to the markets in various parts of the country or in other countries. They buy them in bulk. Then at the retail level, you have 3 income groups: lower income, middle income, and upper income consumers. So depending upon their paying capacity, their purchasing capacity, the handloom weaver produces. For instance, take the example of bed sheet. The handloom weaver can produce a bed sheet which may cost 500 rupees. He can also produce a bed sheet which may cost only 50 rupees, a little over $1 United States dollar. Because he will use less number of picks and ends, that means less yarn threads, and the colors used may not be as fast as those used in the costly bedsheets. See? So depending upon the purse, like this, not only bedsheets, saris, you can find saris which may cost as much as $300 US, one sari. They use mulberry silk, and then sometimes if it is 4-ply, it will be very heavy. It may last for a lifetime if you preserve it properly, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years also. And you may use it for on occasion, to attend a party, to attend a wedding, or to attend a religious function, to go to temple, or when some guests are visiting you. So it may last for a lifetime, and the investment may not go a waste. And you can also buy, if you walk into the city here in Hyderabad, to a place called Pathargatti, you can buy a sari for, how much? You'll be shocked if I tell you the price. For, I think, $1.50 US cent, $1.50 American, $1.50, you can buy a sari. It's possible. And for all practical purposes, it will be attractive to look at, but it may not have the same ingredients, and it may not be long-lasting. It may not be long-lasting. And it may not have the same texture. Texture? And design-wise, it may not be as attractive. And then about the middleman, we have master weavers, as I told you about them before. They exploit their weaver brethren. Then we have merchants coming from all over and buying product, including people who come from abroad. They give money, place order, go, and open LC for the rest. They give advance, open LC there, and then it is shipped, sent by air. And big merchants from many affluent countries, they come, and merchants from Delhi, Bombay, they go to villages and they buy. And then we have hawkers who go from place to place and sell these handloom products, live on a day-to-day basis. Then we have handloom dealers, people who take cloth from the village weaver in two ways. Number one, on consignment basis, they take the cloth, sell it, then go back to the weaver and pay him and make a little profit. Or they pay cash and buy the cloth and they sell it and make big profit. Depends. Then we have the state, apex societies at the provincial level. Their job is to supply raw materials to the primary handloom weavers corporate societies. Raw materials like yarn, like jerry, like dyes, like chemicals, for the coloring of fabric. And then in turn they buy the cloth from them, the finished product, and then they run handloom houses, showrooms in different parts of the country where they market these products. And again give work, provide employment to weavers. Their main job is to provide employment to weavers and implement the handloom development of new designs, use of natural fibers and dyes, etc. for the coloring of the fabric, for sustainable development of the handloom sector to cater to the domestic and international markets effectively. The stress in the days to come would be on marketing and training. So this is where I thought I would start with marketing. I wouldn't really like to go deep into the various facets of this time-honored, cottage-based hand-weaving industry, because most of you, I'm sure, as functional officers, are aware of what the industry stands for and how people who belong to the poverty-stricken artisanal sector struggle to eke out their livelihood by working helplessly and haplessly day in and day out on the wooden structure, loom, which is not operated by power. It's operated manually. And please remember, when I say hand loom, I always conjure up pictures of people who are behind the loom. It's not just the weaver who does the job alone, all by himself. Hand weaving industry is probably one village industry in the whole world where the entire family is involved at different stages. Like, for instance, in the pre-loom operations, like denting, like street sizing, like warping, like coloring of the yarn, like designing, the weaver's wife is very much involved. Not only the weaver's wife, the weaver's children also are involved. There's a lot of child labor here. I cannot think of an industry, either urban or rural, which engages a major chunk of women, save agriculture. Handloom industry employs or provides work to the second largest contingent of women folk. As far as the rural industries in India are concerned, I think handloom industry has been rated as the number one industry in the whole country. Because India has 4 million handlooms, on which as many as 20 million people directly depend to earn their bread. And they don't have any financial backing. If they're not able to secure work for the day, probably they may not have their square meal for the day. Such is their sad plight. Anyway, when we start discussing about this industry later, after I conclude making my presentation, you may come up with questions about the industry, and then we will go on discussing. I think I'll be taking about 20-25 minutes to make the presentation, and then the floor is left to you. Now, before I discuss about the marketing aspect, I would like to bring to your kind attention that there has been a change in the outlook of the marketing messiahs world over because of the disintegration of the Soviet Union, because of absence of the blocks, the socialist bloc and the capitalist bloc, and because most countries in the world today are trying to move over to market economy, and also because of various other factors, even the philosophy of marketing perforce has had to undergo some changes for good of late. I'd like to cite a quote, Ed Johnson and Peter Drucker, the father of modern marketing philosophy. According to Ed Johnson, they say if you build a better mousetrap than your neighbor, people are going to come running. They are like hell. It's marketing that makes the difference. According to Peter F. Drucker, the job of business in the years to come won't be to create wealth by discovering new continents, but to create it by discovering new and better uses of existing resources and for known and already exploited economic potentials. Technology, while not the only tool for this purpose, may be the most important one. And here I'm holding in my hand the picture of two cavemen. I hope those who are sitting afar are able to see it. I wouldn't know. If you want me to come closer, I can. It's a picture of two cavemen. Now, what today's markets need, and need very badly, are people of this sort. Not that I'm trying to crack a joke, but I'm only trying to say that business today is running into such cutthroat competition. If one wants to stay in business, one has to adapt to the changing situations and follow the market trends and take to the dictum and justifies the means. Otherwise he'll be just thrown out. Now, the next step would be to discuss about marketing of rural products before we take up the case of handlooms. Now, though I was in Australia, I was in the United States, I was in the continent, England, I was in Japan, and the last 2 years I was working as a visiting professor abroad. I just came recently. I have had occasions to observe the past 3 decades during my travels in virtually all the continents about the changing trends in markets. And I don't really wish to discuss about these trends in other countries, so I would like to confine my presentation to the trends in India, in the Indian setting. Now, India, as has been aptly put by the father of the Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhi, lives in her villages, and much of the nation's economy is dependent on the village produce and its movement. And we are, despite the rapid strides of progress made by India in the fields of science and technology, we are still having agrarian economy, having its iron hand. We are still producing. Imagine a country which is heading for 100 million population. 1,000 million population. Here we use the word crore. So it's 1,000 million population. Next one is China, second largest population-wise in the whole world. Imagine a country of this magnitude feeding 1,000 million mouths a day. How much food is needed? How many consumer items are needed with every passing day? How much housing is needed? And more importantly, how many avenues of work are required so as to ensure that they don't remain poor, so as to ensure that their social and economic life is not going to be miserable. But among the rural products, apart from the agricultural produce, we have the handicrafts, which are differentiated through some technical means from hand weaving. Though the carpet, the floor covering, is still considered a handicraft. The marketing of rural products doesn't really pose a great threat to the producer, even today, despite unimaginable growth in the population since India became independent 50 years ago. Because the village itself has consumers, and the surplus is always sent out to towns and metropolitan cities. So far as my experience is concerned, the one impression that I still have about rural products is that marketing is not a problem. But if you go back to the earlier decades, when the 4 Ps propounded by the father of modern marketing philosophy, the Vienna-born Professor Drucker, product, price, placement, and promotion, the 4 Ps, which may not really have as much relevance today as they have had in the past decades. If you go by these 4 Ps, the product, no one is asking the producer by force to produce by using his skill, either handed down or acquired. He does it because he finds a market. If he doesn't find a market, then he will switch over. He may not like to continue because he has to live somehow. And placement, if he doesn't know, because we still have people living in the villages who are bogged down with problems of squalor, ill health, illiteracy, ignorance, and things like that. So if they do not know how a particular product of theirs could be placed in what market, well, there are umpteen number of people to tell him or to take the product away from him and then place it themselves. So that's not really a big problem. Then the third one is promotion. The producer himself cannot promote a product. It's always the middleman. I wouldn't know, probably in the countries you hail from, whether your experience also shows the same picture. But here in India, promotion, the man who produces a rural product probably may not be having the wherewithal to promote the product himself, because the village, which is even the whole world has now become a global village. So in a small place where you only have a hundred or a few hundred people living, or a few hundred families living, now there you don't really require to promote a product, because everybody knows, people know each other by their names, people by their backgrounds, and there used to exist in India for long years a barter system, even till the recent past we have had it, barter system. You know, a man who produces grains or cereals would supply them to a handful of families for the whole year, and in return these families would give him what they are producing. Like if one family is producing vegetables, they are given to the man who produces cereals for the entire year. If one man is a barber and he does the hair cutting job for a few families, it's like a contract for 1 year. Then in return he gets paddy, rice from the agricultures, if this family is serving agricultures. If the man happen to be a handloom weaver, then he will weave fabrics, the unstitched garment, sari, the Indian sari. I think you are familiar with that? It's an unstitched garment, and it still reigns supreme among majority of the Indian women. In the villages, nobody wears pants, no women wear pants. And those women who work in metropolitan cities, probably some of them might wear dresses or pants to go to work. But still, that's one thing which is keeping the handloom industry going in this country, sari. So in the villages, if the person happens to be a handloom weaver, then if he's serving a family, a few families of agricultural rights, producers of paddy, then he makes saris for the ladies of those families. Then he makes a shirting cloth, and then he gives it to them. In exchange, he takes rice from them. So this was how it was going on in India for a long time, since Vedic times. Now things have changed, of course, because the professions have come to be modernized. Now, there is one P which I feel does require the attention of consumer. That is price. Because the producer inhabiting villages in India is probably not getting the right price for his product. If you have had chances of going through the daily English newspapers during your stay in India over the past few days, you may have come across some news items, a few among which probably could have figured in things relating to a producer the village producer are not getting the right